Gagan, and you're listening to a special episode of the Voice of Insurance podcast, produced in association with Insly. Today's episode is an invigorating catch-up with someone who was last on the podcast over 2 years ago. Risto Rossar is CEO of Insly and is a really rare combination in that he is an insurance business builder who realised that helping the insurance industry fully digitise would be a better and more scalable business proposition than continuing to grow the highly successful digital Baltic insurance broker that he had founded. Insly continues to grow at speed, serving fast-growing segments of the market, such as MGAs, that need full end-to-end insurance software, but are unlikely to be on the radar of the largest vendors. Risto really gets tech and insurance, but is also a very strong communicator who tends to tell things the way he sees them. This is where we come to the invigorating part that I mentioned at the beginning. Risto's trademark is no-nonsense, down-to-earth analysis of what technologies are and are not likely to be genuinely disruptive to the insurance industry. He's good at seeing through hype and puncturing bubbles. So, when someone in his position, with his level of understanding and natural sense of healthy skepticism, starts getting genuinely excited about AI, we all need to sit up and listen. What follows is one of the most interesting and credible conversations about the likely long-term disruptive effects of AI on the insurance sector I've had on the show. If you think AI is just going to be a nice productivity tool that removes all your dull admin tasks, you need to think again. It will do that, but an awful lot more besides. The opportunities to be seized here are enormous, but are difficult for those of us used to a very slow-moving status quo to get our heads around. Risto is on exceptional form and is clearly feeling energised and excited for the future. Listen on, and I think you will too. Enjoy the podcast. Risto, welcome back to the Voice of Insurance.
Thank you, and nice to be back. Always a pleasure to have a conversation with you.
I suppose we're getting to a certain age where time seems to move faster, and it was actually already 2 years since we last spoke. So for anyone who didn't listen to that podcast, why don't you just quickly reintroduce yourself to them and give us a brief history of your career to date and how Insly came to be formed?
Yeah, so my brief history, it's a combination of insurance and technology, sometimes by accident, sometimes by design. But I started my career by launching, I think, one of the first digital insurance broker in the world. I did it in Estonia. That was the year 2000. That grew to be the biggest insurance broker in 3 Baltic states. That was a nice business. But in 2014, I kind of realized that insurance broker business, even if it's fully digital, it's not really easy to scale geographically. And when I saw in what kind of stone age all of my friends in other countries running the brokers and the MGAs and insurance companies were, then I thought that it could be a much bigger opportunity to sell technology to other companies. And that's how Insly was born, and from 2014 onward, I'm dedicating my time selling digital solution for brokers, MGAs, insurance companies, and the company that I'm using for that is Insly. So.
Well, in that experience, is it better? Is it better to sell technology to brokers, MGAs and carriers than it is to actually be a broker?
Probably for me it is, because I am the person who builds stuff. So running the broker business has a certain limitations in a certain country. So yeah, I think for me, for sure, it is. But of course, it's not like one business is better than the other. It's what you like, right?
So we worked out this is what I'm really good at. This is really where I'm really good.
Exactly. So like Insly, when you sell technology, you can have a much bigger impact. You can help a lot of companies. You can do more by running the broker company, even if it's digital and modern in one country. You need more like a manager. But I treat myself more as a builder, as an innovator, and that's why I think that job is better for me.
It gives you that imperative. It's what do? We do technology for insurance rather than doing insurance, because a lot of people in insurance are doing their own technology, of course, but then they never have that imperative to keep updating it. Well, this solved a problem. But it's far better perhaps as a third party that you have that imperative. You have many customers, and therefore you have the imperative to keep updating that software, to keep making it relevant and keeping it up with the times and reinvesting in it. But of course, if you make it yourself, sometimes it's like, yeah, I did that tool, and now it's 12 years later and it doesn't kind of work in the modern world anymore.
Yes, and you talk with many different customers, and the know-how that you get from that excitement. Some customers are more innovative than others, and some customers are innovative for a certain period of time when they launch the business. Then they get into kind of, okay, now my business is running, I should make money. You don't feel that innovation. And then you have a new customer who, again, comes with a new idea, And then you feel yourself as a hub where all the innovation comes in. And I think that creates that creativity. So it's not about software. I think it's about how you use software and how you apply that in a certain industry. And I think that's what I'm excited about.
And when you're doing your own technology, you're the only customer. But if you have multiple customers, you're going to see the demand more clearly, aren't you? And say, this is a problem that this customer has. And actually, I know that this is also the same problem that the other customers all have, that they haven't maybe identified it yet. And so if we solve this problem, we're going to solve the problem for everybody.
It's a dialogue, because I'm always kind of thinking, what can we do better, right? You have a certain idea, then you go with the customers and, you can get feedback, right? Sometimes they say, not really interesting, right? And then you go back and at one point you come up with something, and when most of the customers say, oh, that's really what we believe in, then you are double downing with that direction and you build the thing. So I think that's kind of a dialogue with very many customers and being open for new ideas. I think that's kind of what makes my job interesting.
Well, so where's Insly got up to in the last couple of years? You were already quite big when we last spoke.
I think we still are pretty small compared to the giants of the insurance technology. But like last year, we did 8 million in revenues. We are at the moment growing 30-40% a year, and we have achieved also profitability. So at the moment, our goal is to grow as fast as we can without burning money. So that's the current focus. And really much kind of focusing on this rule of 40. So grow 40% with a zero profit. So that's our ultimate aim. In reality, it probably will be growing 35% with a 5% profit margin. And we have a team of 100 people with customers from all over the world, around 40 customers. I think that's kind of from the size and business perspective where we are in a very comfortable place from that point of view, that we are not depending on the investors anymore. We are growing and taking into account what's the economic situation today. I think that kind of company is pretty much appreciated by ourselves and by investors as well.
And also, it's one of those moments, certainly as a business, as the business owner, you feel comfortable. You think, I know this is going to work now. And I know it's really a question of how much risk I want to take, of how quickly I want to grow, etc. But there's a certain moment when the income's coming in and you've got the customers and you think, yeah, I know this is definitely working. And I suppose it's the same from the customers. They can have more confidence in you to say, great, I've kind of got into bed with these people and they're embedded in what I'm doing. And now I'm really confident they're going to be here in 20 years' time when I really need them.
Yes, exactly. The time on the market helps you. In insurance technology space, it's like a Lindy effect. The longer you are alive, more likely it is that you will win. We are not selling some kind of efficiency tool. We are selling at the core insurance software, and compared. Imagine, some guys from Estonia come to London with making a lot of loss and trying to sell software on a UK market. So that was hard. Now you have been around for over 10 years, you're profitable, you have a lot of customers. It's much more easier.
So what's your strategic focus right now?
So the future growth of Insly will lay on 3 main pillars. Pillar number 1 is to sell our existing low-code, beautiful software as aggressively as we can globally. So that's simple. The second layer is AI. So we have now invested a lot into creating AI tools for our customers. So that seems to be like really growing fast. And we have launched 1 product now. We have a lot in a pipeline. And we see that as a growth vector that is not only for the Insly customers, but we see that we can also sell to the customers who use some other software as their
right. So it's not sitting on top of that core platform. You don't have to already be an Insly customer to be able to use the AI with it. These are tools that are more universal.
Exactly. That's how we want to build it. Of course, it's easier initially to build it on top of Insly, but the first product that we launched could work with any software. That's like the ultimate goal, that any software that you use, you can still use these AI products of Insly. So that's the second growth vector that I'm really excited about. And the third one is acquisitions. So we see that there is a lot of opportunities to acquire smaller, maybe even bigger companies like Insly. And specifically when you take into account the AI layer, then if we would acquire someone, we would acquire customers, we would acquire certain software, and then we can deploy these AI features to these customers. Because sometimes it's easier to acquire the competitor than try to take the customer away from the competitor. And it strategically becomes more valuable when you can offer something extra to these customers. So I would say these are the growth vectors that I'm at the moment focusing on.
I think you're absolutely right about that longevity. I think certainly when I've sat as a magazine editor or so on, and I've had a technology company saying, Mark, we really want to sponsor something. We've got this fantastic technology. We think everyone in the insurance industry should buy this. It's going to be fantastic. It's better than everybody else's. I say, yeah, that may also be true. But what you need to do is you have to knock on the door for a long time before the door opens. But when the door opens, you are welcome in. It'll take you a long time to get in. But once you're in, you'll be fine. So the acquisition is almost like a strategy, is a way of recognizing the fact that's probably the only way of ever getting this customer, because they're so embedded with that company.
To sell the customer to the story that you need to change your core software. So that's not the easy sales. But when you acquire them and then you have a nice roadmap to migrate you to the new platform, that's maybe a bit easier.
Yeah, it's a harder sell to say, hey, I want to come out and I want to rip out all of your insides and put my new one inside. So it sounds a bit...
Let's do it next year.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the core business. You're working with brokers, MGAs and carriers. What would you say is your main area of focus? If I was walking in the street and said, well, Insly, is that broker software? Is it MGA software? It's a bit of everything, but where's your core market?
I would say the core market for us is small and medium-sized MGAs as of now, and our core product is low-code end-to-end insurance software. So we would see ourselves as a bit disruptors from that angle, that so far the core software was not affordable for many of the market participants. We have made the software that is relatively affordable, not to say cheap, easy to implement, and that's why we have provided the product to any MGA in principle. If you run MGA, you can afford in the software. Before, you can't afford Guidewire. You can't afford many of the softwares on the market because they are just not for you. We have productized it, we have standardized that, and I think that's our core product. And we also have the broker platform in Poland, Estonia, and Latvia, but that's like maybe 20% of our revenues. Our main thing is core software for insurance companies and MGAs.
And when we're talking about low code, just for anybody who doesn't really understand what that is, what is it, Risto?
Low code is that you can launch insurance products on our platform, or let's say implement end-to-end insurance software, and you don't need developers for that, but you still need to be able to read and write JSON files. You need to be technologically a bit advanced, but you don't need to code. So no code is kind of, you can compare it to drag and drop.
Yeah.
Drag and drop, like really anyone can do that. Low code means that you have some understanding of the IT. In principle, no code is the next layer that sits on top of the low code. But low code, if you're really advanced guy, then you can actually, with the low code, you can do it even faster because drag and drop is slower.
And it's presumably, you can only drag and drop things that have been designed. And
exactly.
If the problem you want to solve hasn't been thought of yet, then of course it doesn't exist as a menu option.
Exactly. It has less possibilities, but you need a bit less skills as well to implement that. So that's...
Yeah, it's really interesting about what you were saying about AI and low code. How do they interact? Do you think AI is coming to sort of take over from low code? Because in a world where you can just talk to an AI and say, can you design me, implement me a process that goes like this? Can we have a future where you think that will happen?
Yeah, of course. That future is kind of pretty much there. So we can do that today. It's not 100% reliable. It doesn't get things, 100% correct, but it's pretty much there. AI is a bit like eating. No code becomes not needed anymore because AI is much better interacting with the low code interface. AI doesn't want to use drag and drop. AI goes directly, writes a configuration
file. So with
file.
AI, if you could say, write me the JSON file code that I need for my no code.
Exactly. Like AI is just, instead of drag and drop, you are using let's say the chat interface, and you write, please build me the travel insurance product. I would like to ask these questions. I would like tariffs to be calculated this way. And here is the Word document uploaded here. Please, the policy should come out exactly in that format. And now the AI is going to configure the system, and you have the system. It's going to replace that no-code layer with a different user interface, and it's going to also replace these persons who implement the software. That's how I see it happening. And that technology is pretty much there, right?
And when you're using AI, you say it's not altogether reliable. I was at a conference the other day and someone said on stage, well, you've got to treat AI as if it's like another employee. When you have a new employee, you have onboarding, you have training, they have to do their compliance, they've got to do all these things, health and safety or whatever. But, you're teaching them. And then you have a quarterly review. You say, yeah, Mark, you were really good on this. You weren't so good on that. You need to work on this perhaps, but well done, and keep going. Is that the best way for us humans to approach AI? Just imagine that it's a new member of staff and it's not likely to know everything.
Initially, you should review what the AI has done. And now to review that, you need to be able to review that somehow, right? So that means that someone, and that's, I think, very much the role of Insly at the moment, is to take what AI is producing and create the interfaces for the MGAs and insurance companies to be able to review what the AI has done and then confirm it. AI is really skillful, but if you give the AI to the MGA, like, we need to package it so that they can, let's say, treat it. With the employees, you do one-on-ones. You have a certain mechanism how to onboard new employees.
Relationship.
Exactly. With the AI, you need to have a relationship as well, but it's a bit different. And now figuring out how that relationship is and what kind of tools we need to create in order for the underwriter, for example, to... Let's take the example. There are a lot of underwriters on the London market, right? They're really skilled. They know what risks to bind and what not to bind. Now, all of these decisions are recorded in Insly software, accept, decline, decline. We are able to clone that underwriter. If that underwriter has done, let's say, a few hundred underwriting decisions using Insly software, then we pretty much are able to clone his brain. Like when the next submission comes in, then AI can almost act the same way than that underwriter. Not 100%, but pretty close. Of course, AI might not be on the same level that underwriter, but when now that business grows and the underwriter is recruiting the junior guy, then I think the junior guy will do even worse job than that cloned AI that we created. But that underwriter, he knows how to deal with the junior underwriter, but he doesn't know how to still control that AI. So I think that's what we need to do. We need to create that interface for that underwriter to check what the AI is doing.
And that's really interesting what you're saying, because one of the potential problems is you see with regulation and when it's going to come up against AI, and when the regulators, obviously, they're always slow, aren't they? They've come round to regulating AI probably too late. But what they might see is that kind of black box, that opaque black box problem. Or I go back to say when I was at school and you're doing a maths exam and there are 2 points for this difficult question, and you get the answer perfectly right, but it comes back, you didn't show you're working, so you only get 1 point out of 2. There's a mark, you need to show you're working, you need to show in the margin here, all the things, the calculation, this is how you did it, you went this way, that way. And it's partly your job then to be able to help AI show it's working.
Yes.
So for example, when it's deconstructing that senior underwriter's work, you could say, I think I've worked out this underwriter does this, it likes this occupancy when the values are below a certain level, and there's no cat exposure. Bang, bang. And sort of that's why he said yes there. Would it be able to sort of go into the logic of why decisions are being made and then be able to turn that into almost a rule book, like a playbook for that junior underwriter to read, say, these are our appetites really based on what I've learned.
Not only for the junior, but to the underwriter
and
himself,
the senior
as well.
manager.
Even like to yourself, because the reasoning is something that AI does really well. AI is sometimes you can see it as a black box, but when you ask the AI to reason as well,
show me you're working.
Please, dear AI, reason me why did you reject now this submission, and he will write really good reasoning for that. Talking with some of the customers, that is like a very specific use case, because they say that I need to explain to my capacity providers why I underwrote this risk and why not. And I have the quality of my, even the underwriters are doing smart decisions, but they don't want to spend time on writing the reasoning for it. They think that done, good risk. And then you can use actually AI to reason it out as well. And then you can also have a much better impression for the capacity providers that you have the reasoning.
I was a broker, and there are prejudices. You have biases, natural biases from an underwriter. I was broking Spanish business, and maybe some underwriters immediately just didn't trust it straight away. Said, well, it's Spanish. I'm not sure, is it the same? I said, well, if this was a British company, you'd be absolutely falling over yourself to write this. And the kind of recency bias, and any of those biases, I suppose an AI is not going to have so many of them.
Absolutely. So the ability of AI to be objective and remove these recency biases or whatever biases there are, it can calculate, gazillion iterations of that. So, and I was this week, visiting biggest insurance company in Poland, and you see there are probably several floors of people calculating motor insurance prices in different segments, right? And then you imagine, okay, these guys are really narrowly optimizing the prices like in all of the sectors. I think, okay, there's like hundreds of people doing that. There's physical limitations.
Yes.
How much they can calculate, right? If you put that into perspective, then all of these hundreds of people working a year, AI can do these calculations within 5 seconds, right? And then you extrapolate that. And then you think, is there any chance of a human underwriter beating AI in these calculations? No, there is no chance. But fortunately to these underwriters, AI still doesn't have the data. There is no way that human being is competing AI in underwriting decisions, even with the AI level as it is today, right? So for sure, it's pretty obvious.
And you think a good application for AI then would be those brokers who are broking that business into those underwriters to be almost having a similar reverse engineering of each underwriter to say, well, I already know what their appetites are going to be, so I won't bother even sending. I already know they're going to reject it. Or almost to game the underwriter, but to say, well, look, I know this is banging your appetite, so this is going to be perfect. We're not wasting anyone's time here.
Yeah. When broker has sent a lot of submissions to insurance company A and it's always been rejected, and a broker has that information in their database, of course.
Again, so it could give the reasoning why the declinature has happened is a good thing to do. It's good marketing with your brokers, isn't it, to explain. Where do you think, in terms of the most effectiveness, I mean, obviously we're looking at AI to be an efficiency tool, a productivity tool most at the moment. Where do you think we're getting the most productivity gains?
On a high level, I would divide the AI implications into two boxes, right? One is like low-hanging and efficiency wins that you can have today. And the second is like really deep changes in the insurance industry. Deep changes is what we just discussed, taking over the underwriting. That's hard. It's not technically hard. It's just there is a lot of compliance, data, GDPR. You don't upload all your database to the LLM and go wild and calculate. Not going to happen today, right? And the lowest hanging fruit is specifically on the efficiency gain, right? So data entry, inserting data into a database, augmenting data, doing certain tasks.
So sort of brokers have sent you a submission by email. It's got a PDF and 2 Excel spreadsheets and a Word document.
Exactly, because in that case, you don't require access to the insurance company or MGA database. The information is moving over email anyway, so it's open in the internet anyway. And that's why in Insly also we have initially focused on that area. And the first product that we launched is called Form Flow. That's exactly doing that. Submissions. When the submissions come in to the MGA and insurance company, it can be PDF, email, like whatever, Excel file, which you can send email with 5 different files. And then we just read all the data from here, and then we fill in the submission form exactly in the format that MGA or insurance company needs. And this is like a huge efficiency gain for the MGA or the insurance company. And also you can have like a much better data set. That's where I would say initial application of AI, it's easier.
And it's also like a positive feedback loop of a flywheel effect, isn't it? Because the fundamental core of good AI is going to be having that good data. And if the first job the AI can do for you is to get your data in a fantastically accurate, structured format, then it can then get to work on it. And in terms of efficiency gains, I've been speaking to people recently saying probably 100% efficiency gain is not from the underwriting side, for example, to say, right, the same underwriter can do twice as much if they're implementing just some of these basic ingestion tools.
Probably. We have calculated that it might cost you, let's say, 20 or 50 pounds per submission, when you kind of need to actually manually insert it. It takes like, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour to actually fill that in, depending on the complexity. So AI does it like that. So you save 100% easily, right? And plus you have the data quality. You save time and also the customer service, because when a broker sends you the submission form and you respond instantly, and you don't need to tell to the broker, log into my software to fill in the form what they don't want to do, right? So just send whatever you have and you respond within 2 minutes. Here is the quote. Customer service, data quality, efficiency, everything goes up.
Certainly your hit rate goes up. If you can get back to the broker quickly, you have a far better chance of getting a firm order.
Exactly. Sometimes you even discard the quotes that the likelihood is small. You even don't do that. So I remember when I launched that broker business in Estonia, right? So then a lot of work is preparing proposals is when you want to disrupt the industry, the first thing, because you don't get any money preparing proposals and you don't know what's the conversion rate. So you automate that. When you already have the policy, then you can actually do the manual work because you have the revenues coming as well.
Yes.
And in order to do good business, you need to scale up your proposals, because then you can also select better risks. If you do 1,000 proposals or you do 10 out of thousands, you can always select more risks that you actually want. So getting the pipeline up is whatever the business is.
Yes.
Pipeline going up, more selection you can do, more you can grow your business. And if you can grow your pipeline so that your marginal cost goes close to zero, then that's a perfect way to scale up your business.
What about a bigger picture? We're removing all these barriers to creativity and innovation in the insurance industry. If you literally can get up and just say, hey, I've had a really good idea for a travel product. Can you just mock it up now for me? It's going to work like this. And then that can happen within 2 or 3 minutes. Do you think, therefore, we're going to expose the insurance industry's barriers to growth as just simply being cultural, perhaps from our own natural conservatism, and also perhaps regulatory? The only barrier will be the regulator saying you actually can't do that.
There are many barriers. The regulation is obvious, right? And there is also, like, let's say, the human beings being naturally inclined to not change the way they do the business. That's logical, because you want to keep it as it is, because everything else is dangerous. If we could remove these obstacles, of course, but can we actually change the human nature? No. Can we change the government to decrease the regulation?
Well, they're only reflecting the humans that voted for them, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're not like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, then no. So it's like in Europe, the regulation is unfortunately like the growing phenomenon. So I think these are the obstacles that we need to overcome with the AI as well. But of course, if you ask the question this way, if we could remove all of these things, I don't think that technology is today the obstacle, right? So looking at what AI can do, actually, although some hackers, developers build a lot of stuff in the insurance, I think the technology to replace all insurance value chain with the AI agent, I think it's pretty much there. No, maybe not 100%, but if it's not today, then very soon, everything what the insurance company does, AI agents will do better. Now there is that regulation, compliance, human. It's just actually hard to put all of that into practice. On the other side, you can see that innovating in insurance industry, it's slow motion, right? My kids are playing sometimes that game, that fighting game, everything is like in slow motion. I sometimes have feeling it's the same in insurance. You can like go really slowly in insurance, but you still are actually pretty fast. Because like nothing happens. There's a lot of talk. And we talk here as well. But
and obviously, one of the things that keeps incumbent businesses slow is all their legacy. Do you think now we're getting to a point? I remember when we last spoke, what was really interesting was saying, well, someone on an Insly type platform, they won't really have to worry about legacy because they can actually switch out platforms really easily, because that's the benefit of the new technology. It's much more interoperable, much more modular. You kind of predicted we won't be talking about legacy. Do you think that might be another great application of AI? When I go to an InsurTech conference, a pure InsurTech, true believer of InsurTech, gets up and says, we have no legacy. That's why we're going to win against these old, ancient 300-year-old insurance institutions, because they're stuck with 700 different systems that don't talk to each other. We will never be like that because we've been designed with a modern mindset. That's my advantage. But do you think they're missing something? Can't the AI come and solve that legacy problem for that carrier? So 600 different systems, don't worry. I'll just go and have a rummage around, and then I'll turn them into one new future-proof system.
That has always been the problem in the insurance industry, is that, yes, you have these innovators who tell that story. And probably,
of course, I mean, eventually they get their own legacy because they've been around for 20 years.
Yeah, but I'm not even meaning that. When the internet came, you can see that the same pattern, that innovators are not able to control whole insurance value chain. At the end of the day, you need the capacity and the license from the insurance company. If you are now able to create insurance company from ground up, from zero, using the AI and new technology,
you still need capital.
You still need capital. It's the entry barrier is just so high that you still kind of end putting the lipstick on top of these old insurance companies. At one point, probably something will happen there. And there's another interesting barrier, what I've actually observed with the internet before and with the blockchain, is that if you look at history, then the retailers never became the Amazon, right? No. And when the crypto and blockchain revolution happened, then the banks didn't become like big crypto companies, right?
Those fintechs kept chipping away and taking away little parts of the banking value chain, like payments and then this.
But it wasn't like the full disruption of that. Still like the Amazon disrupted the online retailing by taking all the value chain under their control. And I think with the AI, I can see like the similar things happening because insurance companies are not using the AI the right way. They're using it, but you don't feel like that there's like disruptive energy. But the AI is after some time, like it's a structural change. It's like electricity, like internet, maybe like blockchain as well. These are the fundamental changes in the industry that actually could change a lot. Now, when you look at the last other innovations, embedded insurance or digital brokers, these are all it's kind of noise. They don't change the industry.
It's not a fundamental thing. Is it?
Exactly.
It's still insurance. It's just insurance. I don't care what the point of sale is.
And then with the AI, I see that there is something fundamental to be changed. And I'm not sure that the insurance companies are the ones who are actually the agents of that change. But I also don't know how it's going to actually happen.
But I suppose with this technology, a smart incumbent should be able to get themselves in good shape quickly, because they've got that natural advantage and they've got the regulatory kind of treacle around them and the kind of moat, as Warren Buffett would describe it, like a protective moat around their business, very protective with the regulatory moat around them as well. So the way that technology is going, they should be able to sort out their legacy pretty quickly, shouldn't they? And therefore just keep ahead.
It's not enough to be smart. You have to be disruptive incumbent. But when you are incumbent, you have thousands of employees. They all work there. You're generating money. It's really hard for you to start disrupting yourself. And that's where the problem is. The organization is working against you. Even if, let's say, the CEO is like, I want to be the disruptor, and then you have 2,000 people working against you, you fail.
I always think of the warm bath analogy is that you're in a very nice warm bath and it's nice, you're soaking in the bath, but then you've run out of hot water. There's no more hot water coming in. So there's no more hot water, but it's still nice. It feels warm in the bath and it feels cold when you get out. So at some point, you're going to have to get out because there's no more hot water. So you're going to have to jump out and you have to get that sharp intake of breath and rush for the towels and get yourself dry and warm again. And I suppose incumbents are in that nice warm bath, aren't they? Particularly when there's making plenty of profits. It's hard to force yourself to jump out of the bath and say, look, I know I need to get out of this bath because there's no more hot water coming in.
That's how it is. But the opportunity is there. Let's hope that we can change that industry a bit, at least a bit.
Well, yes. It's been 10 years now that we've been talking about the word insurtech. Do you think we'll still be talking about insurtech in 10 years' time? Do you think at some point we'll retire this term? Because everything's so fundamentally changed. And of course, it'll be, yes, of course, there's technology in insurance. There always has been and always will be.
It's hard to be successful insurance company without embracing technology. So it's like all the companies are now internet companies and all the companies need to be technology companies, specifically in insurance. Insurance is like really digital, really technology-enabled business. With the advent of AI, it's even, before it was, whether you drive with a horse or car or a motorcycle, it's like car, or let's say Tesla is a little bit better than old Skoda, it is, but it's still like kind of goes more or less with the same speed, right? But now with the AI, I would say now it's like airplane, right? So it's not enough to upgrade your car. You need to jump into the airplane because it's exponentially so much faster and so much better. So if you don't embrace that, then just, I don't know whether it's 1 year, whether it's 10 years, but you need to start, if you do long distances, then airplane is better than car. And technology and AI is very logically what the insurance companies have to embrace. And then, when you say that you don't do technology in insurance, then it's just going from London to Tallinn using the car.
It's a long way. Nothing, you're getting the high-speed train now, aren't you? So at some point, that will be a fun journey. It's been really interesting talking to you, Risto, again about your journey. I think I've come to the end of all my questions. Is there anything that you think we need to have talked about that we haven't spoken about yet?
I think what I would like to say, I don't remember did I say it already or not, but after building over 10 years of Insly, I'm now feeling like I'm a bit like reborn again. It got a bit boring, the policy administration and doing the software for the insurance industry. I'm like, now with what we can do in the insurance using AI, I'm like feeling that it's a new startup being created. And I'm like energized to do more in the industry. And that gives me the hope because it's otherwise. And I hope many people are feeling the same way.
Yeah, you can feel it. Certainly there was a kind of before an after feeling. Certainly, I was looking at a graph of innovation. This is technological innovation going like this, sort of steady progress, and say 1950 when some big mainframes came in, or whatever it is. And then suddenly now we're in this kind of hockey stick, which is things because the technology is enabling the technology to be better, and that new better technology is enabling the new better technology, and it's kind of, everything is squared, and we're at this hockey stick. So we're getting that kind of sharp intake of breath, and that acceleration, exciting moment is now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And even like say, human beings are hard understanding exponential growth. Exponential growth is like really fast. When I would tell you the story that, maybe in insurance, pretty soon the Tesla Optimus bot will jump into the car and go and manage your claims on the spot. You would imagine that's like, maybe it will come a bit later. But no, that technology is today. It's happening today. The cars are already driving today. They are driving better than human beings. So that's, I think, when you live your everyday life, you don't grasp on what level the technology already is. And now you put the exponential angle on top of that, like doubling almost every week. And then it's like, I don't know where we are when we meet in 2 years. Maybe nothing has happened. It could, because like always in exponential growth, the end is like really fast. Nothing happens, and then everything happens at once. When the pool fills in with the water, then, before it's full, it's only half full. Yes. A lot of empty rooms. So doubling is
It's interesting about exponential, yes. A famous thing, I wonder if it was true, but Albert Einstein was asked, what is man's greatest invention? And he said, compound interest.
Compound interest.
So it's not even exponential interest. We're talking about compound interest being man's greatest. So yes, exponential, we compound on the compound. So,
and when you ask average people to explain compound interest, they
don't really get it. It seems like magic, doesn't it?
Exactly.
So compound means you can be Warren Buffett after 30 years. If you compound just a little bit above the average, then that's wonderful. Risto, thank you so much. I think we've come to the end of our time. Thank you so much for coming on the show again. And let's book in another meeting for 2 years' time.
Thank you very much, and hope to see you soon.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, don't forget to subscribe or leave a like or a review or recommendation on whatever podcast platform you used to access this programme. These really help get the word out. Before we go, just a quick reminder that advertising slots are available here and in other places in the Voice of Insurance podcasts. Podcasting is the fastest growing medium and attracts a high quality audience of key decision makers. It's also an intimate medium where you, the listener, are right in the room with me and the interview subjects. Needless to say, that means it's a great way of getting your message out directly to an audience because you've got their full attention. It's also very cost effective. So get in touch with Mark at thevoiceofinsurance.com to find out how you could be speaking directly to the industry. Voice of Insurance is produced by me, Mark Gagan. Music was written by Anna Gagan and produced by Carlos Gagan. Check out more podcasts and written comment pieces at www.thevoiceofinsurance.com.